What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? You are listening to Believe in Bears. We are the Blitz. Marshall Harris, 9-year NFL vet, Clay Harbor. I am Gabe Ramirez. And in this episode, we get the opportunity to talk a little bit about what happened at that Texans game. I can give you my sight line from where I was sitting in the stands in Houston. And then we'll chat a little bit about the Indianapolis Colts and the upcoming game for the Chicago Bears. Make sure you stream us everywhere you get your podcast. Make sure you follow us on social media so that way you can interact with us as well. The way we start our podcast is simple. We call it Truth Be Told. It's an opportunity to get the conversation going. And first up, we got Clay Harbor. Clay, what you got for us, man?
Truth be told, I'm more concerned about the Bears running game than I am the Bears passing game. When you have 27 yards on 17 carries, you are not running an efficient NFL offense. What's going to take care of itself is when you have a consistent running game that takes care of the passing game, the blitzes, and the protection. You got to get ahead of the chains in this league, in the NFL. If you're running consistent 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11s, 2nd and 9s, you're going to get heated up. You're going to get blitzed, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. You are going to get heated up. If you're in 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 2s, that takes away the blitz. That defensive play call sheet, that shrinks from about this big to about this big. If you're listening, that's a lot to a little. Okay? Being ahead of the chains matters.
I agree with Clay. I think it is about the running game. Here's why.
You're more concerned with that? But you're more
I'm definitely more concerned with the running game than the passing game. Absolutely. Here's why. You have a rookie quarterback. A rookie quarterback's best friend is what, Clay?
A run game. Strong.
They have no running game. What do you mean? And here's a beautiful part about this. It all comes to a head this week. Because if you can't run against the team that's given up the most rushing yards in the NFL through 2 games, it's looking like mission impossible. So more than anything else, you've got to hand the ball off and run the ball. And here's my thing. Maulers. They need to have maulers on offense when you look at the offensive line. And when I look at that offensive line, who do you look at and say, hey, if I'm going into a bar fight against the defensive lines across the NFL, who do I want flanking me on the Bears? Name somebody. Go ahead. Name somebody, Gabe. Name somebody.
I'm just flabbergasted because what I've seen under center is a quarterback, right, despite being a rookie, that put up less than 100 yards in week 1. That
he was running for his life.
I understand that exactly, and the offensive line and pass protection work hand in hand with the quarterback, right? So when you're talking about the passing game and what you're worried about, you have to talk about the offensive line and the inability.
Have you ever heard the expression "pin your ears back"? Pin your ears back. They know what's coming.
I understand that.
And Gabe,
but I'm not worried about the running game.
When he said 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, I see a lot of 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 14s.
Yeah. And the Bears can't even capitalize on a 3rd and short when Caleb Williams is trying to throw the ball, which is what he's supposed to be put in as a quarterback. A quarterback should be able to capitalize and convert on a 3rd and short. What I'm saying is this: DeAndre Swift is a proven entity. You're worried about a guy that was a Pro Bowler last year. I'm just saying.
Behind the best offensive line in the NFL, and the run game has something to do with the offensive line as well. The run blocking, the running back, but watching the tape, went back and watched the entire All-22. DeAndre Swift is leaving some meat on that bone. He ain't going out there and cleaning that bone like you. I went and had chicken wings with Marshall. He made sure every piece of meat was off that bone.
I was hungry.
Right?
I was hungry.
DeAndre Swift. He ain't getting all the yards there is to get out there. I think you put Roschon Johnson in, a straight downhill back. You put Swift in on pass-catching situations on 3rd down. Offensive line, I think that Waldron needs to realize that some of these schemes, you got Braxton Jones looking like he's running inside zone. When it's outside zone, everybody else running outside zone. I'm like, what are these guys doing? Just simple stuff, the steps, the footwork, the double teams. Look like it's the first time they've tried to run football.
I can't believe you brought up Roschon Johnson because he hasn't gotten a carry this season.
At all. We'll see what happens there. But you know what? I'll say this, fellas. Both the running game and the passing game need to be on point in order to handle my truth be told. Truth be told, Bears are going to put up 30 points on Sunday.
The next two games?
No, Sunday. 30 points. They've gone up against 2 of the best defenses in the NFL. And let's not forget they put up 24 against Tennessee, or excuse me, against Tennessee. They struggled obviously against the Texans, but the opportunities were there, right?
How many offensive touchdowns did they score against Tennessee?
I understand that. But I'm telling you, the defense is going to be there. What did CJ Stroud say? Hey, man, I didn't hit my rhythm until week 3 or week 4. What's next week? Week 3. This offense is going to hit a rhythm. Shane Waldron understands the pieces that he has, the weapons that he has, what they can, what they cannot do. He's going to get in the rhythm and play calling as well. Caleb Williams, you see it in his face. He's not the guy that throws 2 interceptions in a game. He only had 5 last year in college football. This is a guy that's going to take pride in moving the ball down the field, handling the operations, putting points on the board. DeAndre Swift is going to get busy as well, as you guys are over there hating on him. And the Bears are going to put up 30 points on the Indianapolis. Truth be told. What are you talking about?
Okay, the Houston Texans, a team that just beat the Bears, didn't even score 30 points. They scored 29 points on them. But they, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, didn't even score 30 points against the Colts. I think the Bears can put up 21, maybe 24. I don't see 30. They've ran 1 touchdown in on how many drives this year? I don't see it happening. This offense has so many issues unless you get a defensive score. Anthony Richardson has given the ball away, leading the league with 5 interceptions. He's going to give a couple to you, but I think they're going to try to run a ground and pound game with Richardson, Jonathan Taylor. So I just see this being a shorter game with less points. And no, Gabe, sorry.
Yeah, Gabe, I 30 is just a lot, man. If you had said 25, maybe I would be with you. 20, I'd be like, okay, I can see that. They've scored 1 offensive touchdown through 2 games. Caleb Williams has yet to throw a touchdown pass. Now, if Keenan Allen had caught his ball, if Rome Odunze had held on to that ball last week, we could be having a different story. But they didn't. So what I'm saying is 30 seems like a reach.
Score a touchdown ever, or one touchdown a game all season.
That's all I'm saying. I'm saying 30 seems far-fetched. Hey, you could be right, but right now I'm going to side with Clay and say the Bears are going to come up short of the 30 points. Now, I think they'll win the game, but I think it will be a lot of running on both sides of the football. So sure. I'm really interested to see how it happens. Let's get to my truth be told, because this is more important than the 2 things y'all are talking about. Those are very much like, oh, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But let's talk about what's really important. Truth be told, Keenan Allen is not someone who the Bears look like they'll be able to depend on this season based on the injury that he has and based on the fact that it's going to be a pain tolerance thing. And we know that heel's been bothering him since before the season. Unless they shut him down, how is he supposed to get good enough to be able to play on a week-to-week basis? Truth be told, Keenan Allen, undependable.
I think when you're looking at Keenan Allen, I mean, you knew where he was at. He had a great year last year playing, in all the games. And I think it's going to be a situation where the Bears have never been in this before, not that I can remember living here, where they have a weapon that they can say, hey, you know what? You're good, Papa. Relax. Heal that heel, because we have a couple of other wide receivers that can handle business while you're gone for this particular game against the Colts. And maybe we'll need you the following week against the Packers or something like that. So depend on, yes, for an entire season, I agree with you, Marshall. But I think it's going to be an opportunity for the Bears to keep him healthy throughout the season. And if the Bears can somehow figure out the offense to put points on the board, utilize him to try to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, Keenan Allen missed 4 or 5 games last year. He's old.
He's not old. He's just older. Let's be clear.
He ain't Marshall old, wow. But he's football old. He's football old. And that heel injury ain't no joke. People here are heel, just like toe. I had turf toe, ended up having to get surgery on it. People are like, dude, your toe. Like my friends that never played football, your toe. Try to go out there and do something with a turf toe. Try to go out there and do something with a heel. That stuff's legit. And that is stuff that keeps coming back. You run, you plant a certain way. Unfortunately, I agree with Marshall. This heel is going to be bugging him all year unless you do give him this extended period of time to take that off. And obviously, the way the Bears are playing right now and watching the tape, the receivers aren't doing a good job of getting open, which is surprising. And I don't know if it's the play calls, I don't know if it's a scheme, but they're just not getting a lot of separation. You do need him. Unfortunately, I think Marshall's right. This could be a nagging injury.
You heard that? I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you often are.
The former NFL player on the podcast said I'm right. I just want to point
Yeah,
that out.
you often are. Let's clip that and make sure we use it as part of the promotional tools. It's the Blitz. He is Marshall Harris. Also, 9-year NFL vet Clay Harbor. I am Gabe Ramirez. This is Believe in Bears. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying what you're hearing so far. Make sure you follow us and stream us everywhere you get your podcast. Now it's an opportunity to jump into the offense and the defense, gentlemen. Not only in the Texas game, but of course looking forward to the Colts matchup on Sunday. When you're looking at Clay, I wanted to ask you this, right? Like, what is the vibe after playing a Super Bowl quality team, right? Like, you're looking at the Bears, and sometimes, with your squad, you go into to play a team that, obviously is a high caliber, high quality team, and then you lose inevitably, right? But what's the locker room like in those situations, right? Because I'm sure there's moments where you lose to bad teams and you feel a certain way, but you lose to good teams and you might look at it as a victory. What is that? What is that energy like in the locker room after a game like that?
All right, I'll break down some real stuff for you guys right here, and it might not be what you want to hear. The first thing a player worries about is himself. I'll be honest. You got to make sure that you played well, right? How did you play? How did you do against this team? But then you take it a step further and you go, I'm my position group. How did we do? Then you take it a step further. Okay, how did our offense do? So for me, okay, offensively, I'm worried. We can't move this ball. Our line ain't create no holes. We're behind on every single down. It's second and long. It's third and long. We can't get a drive starter. It seems to me like they're running the ball every single first down. It's a handoff for 2 yards. Understand you want to get the running game going, but sometimes the best way to help your rookie quarterback is to throw on non-passing downs, because that's when you're not going to get the passing coverages, the passing blitzes. So doing things like that, and then obviously you look at yourself as a full team and say, man, okay, our defense, if I'm on that offense, I'm saying our defense is holding up. We are going to have a good defense this year. That's going to keep us in a lot of games. So if we can get this figured out, we're close with these guys. And we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do nothing. We had 27 rush yards from our running backs. We had 2 interceptions, giving the ball away. If we can just clean it up and be a decent offense, we'll be pretty good. So there is a little bit of hope in that, knowing that you can play with these good teams when you as a unit didn't do your job, and it does make you want to get your job done even more.
I think the interesting thing is looking around, it seems like the evaluation of the offense is pretty unanimous. It's not like people are arguing about what needs to be changed, what needs to be fixed. It's pretty clear. If the offensive line doesn't do a better job, the Bears don't have chances to win games unless the defense and special teams plays at an exceptional level. And I'm not saying they can't, but we talked about it going into the game against C.J. Stroud. He doesn't turn the ball over. Gabe, I tried to explain that to you. Apparently didn't believe me, but here
Almost
we are.
Had an interception. Almost had an interception.
Almost. There's an artist, I think by the name of
Jalen Johnson got paid off of almost.
Is that Brandy?
Got paid off of almost.
Is that Brandy who said almost doesn't count? So I just want to point that out, that the almost, but Jalen Johnson also had some interceptions. I want to point that out. And no one's throwing Jalen Johnson's way. So he's earning every bit of his paycheck this season. People worried about whether he'd fall out after he cashed out. No, he's shutting down effectively, Clay, half the field. But back to the offense. They've got to figure out a way to get things going on the ground. Once that happens, and all they need is a couple of chunk plays. They are lacking severely in chunk plays. All it takes, Clay, back me up on this. You get 2 or 3 chunk plays, all of a sudden the defense is scrambling, and now your offense gets in rhythm.
Yeah, and they can't, and then you get a little hurry up going, and the defense can't line up. They can't use their blitz package. When you get things going, one play, like you said, then you can kind of use that momentum to keep the team out of blitz. Because obviously you look at the blitz numbers, and I wrote this down just because I thought this was interesting. Against the blitz, Caleb Williams was 3 of 12 for 15 yards, an interception, and 5 sacks. The blueprint, every team. I know Gus Bradley and the Colts don't like to blitz. I played with Gus for 3 years. Gus don't like to blitz. He wants to play cover 3 and let his front 4 try to do some work, which is typically going to work. DeForest Buckner and Latu are out for the Colts, though. So he's going to blitz. Even Gus is going to look at this film and say, we got to blitz this guy. Every team the Bears play are going to blitz. How do you beat the blitz?
Until you prove that you can beat the blitz.
Until you prove you're going to beat the blitz. But a strong running game makes you think twice about blitzing, because if you crack through that first level, okay, who's going to stop them? You're off to the races. So that's the number one thing, in my opinion. And then the fact that Caleb Williams has got to get some downfield throws in. He's 0 for 11 on throws that travel 15 plus yards downfield, and most of those have been off-target throws. But I out of context, it sounds bad, but I think we've been watching these games and know this guy's been getting his brains beat out, and that is tough when you finally do get those throws. It's difficult because now you're seeing pressure that ain't there. You're trying to get rid of the ball too fast, and you're just not comfortable in the pocket.
Listen, all you got to do is watch some film of Bryce Young to understand how traumatic that can be if it continues to happen at a high rate. And certainly the Red Rifle is playing in Carolina for a reason this weekend and starting over Bryce Young. You don't want the situation to be where a young Caleb Williams is traumatized and, like you said, seeing ghosts from Rush's past, if you will.
You saw what Josh Jacobs did to this. Yeah, you saw what Josh Jacobs did to this defense, though, to say the Packers were able to win this game with Malik Willis, right? He threw 14 times. He threw 5 times in the first half, okay? They ran the ball down their throat when they knew you were running the football. That's not supposed to happen in the NFL. It's a perfect game to get the game right.
But also, that's a challenge to the offensive line of the Bears. You see the blueprint, as you said, Clay, and it's right there in front of you. Now, look, I get it. Both teams get paid. Players get paid on both sides. They're going to try to make all the corrections they can on the run game. They know the Bears are about to run the football. The question is, do you have the men to step up and just blow people off the ball?
Right, especially when they know it's coming. And that's what's going to be important for the Bears, certainly to establish that run game and certainly to get rid of the ghosts for Caleb Williams, because as mentioned, we did see that with Justin Fields, that Cleveland game. I mean, after that, that's
you mean 2-0 Justin Fields? You mean 2-0 Justin Fields on that team I told you was going to the playoffs? That Justin Fields?
Yeah, Justin Fields had scored 1 touchdown on 22 drives.
He ain't turning the ball over.
I'm not saying I'm a Fields fan, but I'm like, let's not say he's doing something he ain't, because I mean he's winning some games, but 1 touchdown on 22 drives is not a sustainable way of winning football games.
Just win, baby.
Right. Do the Steelers have a better team? If you eliminate Justin Fields and you eliminate Caleb Williams, do the Steelers have a better team than the Bears?
They have a better offensive line, I can tell you that.
I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this, and on the question, it's what Bill Belichick's quote was about the Bears. Gabe says he criticized Ryan Pohl's roster construction, and I'll paraphrase what Belichick said. If you guys haven't heard, he basically said that he says Chicago, in terms of their overall team construction, the way they decided to do it, you look at the teams like Detroit in their division. Detroit has got 3 really good linemen, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnarok, and Taylor Decker, and those guys generally give a lot of protection. The Bears really put their resources, a lot of money, a lot of draft choices into receivers, and they've had problems on their offensive line, and it doesn't really look like that's gotten any better. So, is Belichick right? Did the Bears put the money and the assets into the wrong position group and not do what the Lions did, the blueprint we've been talking about, to get a strong offensive line for a young rookie quarterback?
And it's curious because you look at the front office and who's making the decisions, and we're talking about former offensive linemen, so you would think that they would care more about that. But here's part of the issue with that. We have seen it in hiring practices across the country, across every type of job you can have. Hiring managers see something in an interview applicant that reminds them of themselves, and they are more likely to hire that person. When you're talking about guys who weren't quite good enough to make it at the NFL level, Ryan Poles, he sees smart guys. He's like, offensive linemen need to be smart, but they also need to be beasts. And they don't have any beasts. Now, I could be proven wrong in the coming weeks, but as I see it now, you watch the plays, basic moves getting by these guys on the pass rush, 4-man rush, 5-man rush. They don't have to send the house to get the Bears behind the line of scrimmage.
A line stunt, Marshall? Watching a stunt. The Bears, okay, let me explain this to you. There is an entire day of practice and hours of film study designed to blitz work. What does this team do? The stunts, the blitzes. You're going through these twists, and every third down in your head, the first thing you think about, you go, okay, stunt blitz. Nate Davis, Coleman Shelton, they see a stunt. They're just shocked. Wait, what just happened? Like you're supposed to be waiting for it. You are looking for that. Okay, look for the stunt. Yeah, you're blocking your guy, but you're making sure you have a high alert for this stunt so you can pass off the defender and take the other one. This isn't trigonometry here. This is basic algebra. And I'm not even good at basic algebra. This is just addition and subtraction. Some of this stuff, man. You're not the elaborate blitzes. But the stunts, man, if they lose on another stunt on third and long, I'm turning the game off. I'm not even watching. We're not going to be able to talk about anything. Because you got to get that right.
Yeah.
That's day one stuff. You practice it. You watch the tape. Pass the guy off. Come on.
It just goes back to the fact that it's difficult to construct the roster, right? When you're looking at Ryan Poles or any GM in the NFL, like you have to use your resources and your draft picks to pick and choose where you are going to have your advantages, right? And where you're going to spend your money and where you feel as though you are going to have in your offices the competitive advantage to develop certain positions. And I'm sure that's what Ryan Poles feels, right? Not only, Marshall, to your point, is he viewing people that are intelligent, that can block. He also thinks he himself, right, that he can get the guys that and they can be formed.
Everyone wants to find the gym. Everyone wants to find the hidden gym. Yeah.
And he feels he can find it right there, right? And maybe that was to his detriment. You know, he showed confidence in the offensive line group before the season started. When people questioned whether or not it was good, he in fact went on camera and said, I actually feel good about this offensive line. This is the best I felt about the offensive line since I've been here. And
that's a low bar. That's a low bar. Let's be clear. That's a low bar.
Agreed. Right. So then, again, you get to that point and you feel that way. But, he has done a good job on the defense. And this defense has performed well against the last two teams, the Texans. I was trying to figure out were the Texans not pressed to score. So they were like, cool, we're not, opening up the playbook too much. We'll take these field goals because we know we're going to stop them. Always had a 10-point lead for the majority of the game. Or, I know the Bears played good defense, right? But how good was that defense against the Texans in your eyes? And what do they need to do to stop the Colts on Sunday? Marshall.
I thought the defense, Marshall, go ahead.
No, I think the defense just needs to keep playing like the defense has been playing. This offense is not C.J. Stroud and the Texans. Anthony Richardson is super athletic. He's got some skills, but he's still young. He got hurt last year. He's still going through it in terms of figuring things out. They have a running game when you look at Jonathan Taylor and company. I just think the Bears defense has played at an exceptional level. We had that debate, top 10 or top 5. Look, as of now, top 5 to me, except for this one thing. Defenses are trending up around the league. Scoring is down. Quarterback game is way down. We've had 300-yard passers through 32 games, which is crazy. So I think the Bears defense is fine. I'm not even concerned about the Colts offense unless the Bears offense doesn't come to play. Now, if you give up a touchdown, you could lose this game, 13-10. That's the concern. But as long as the offense shows up, defense is going to be fine. And they're due for a takeaway because they didn't get but one last week. And it was a big one on the goal line stand. But I'm looking for some more interceptions. As Clay mentioned, Anthony Richardson has a habit so far of putting the ball in harm's way.
Yeah, he's turning the ball over a lot, and I think the Bears is a good opportunity for them to get some. They're not going to pass the ball a ton, but I just want to see the Bears be able to play from ahead this week, and I think that's going to take care of a lot of their offensive problems because you play a different type game, and then you force the Colts offense into doing some things they don't want to do. They can't just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor if they're playing from behind. But defensively, the Bears have been really, really impressive. The two guys I'm probably most impressed with right now would be Andrew Billings and Gervon Dexter. They've really stood out in those interior. Those were two issues that I thought the Bears would have this year. So the offensive line and interior defensive line is going to be a problem. But they've really stepped up. The Bears linebackers, watching the film, Jack Sanborn only played 14, 15 snaps, but every snap he's in the game, the guy's making a play and doing something, man. I know he can't get on the field more because you got TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, who are also playing very well. in front of them. But this is just a physical group that makes plays. Defensive backs, I like how Tyreek Stevenson competes. Obviously, Marshall talking about JJ, top 5 safeties. I like what I've seen from Brisker down in the box, and Kyler Gordon making some big plays in the run game and doing okay in the pass game. And obviously Eberflus, but that's what you get when you have a defensive coach, man. I mean, obviously you can look at the Texans and say DeMeco Ryans is defensive coach, but you do lose a little something on the offense, gain something on defense when you got Eberflus, your head coach, who is actually calling the defensive plays. It affects the quarterback. You're basically just handing the offense over to Shane Waldron. So that's another thing that might affect the development here, because you just don't got as many expert eyes on the quarterback as you do on the defense. And I think it's, obviously the homecoming, you got Eberflus playing against his old team. I think he's going to be, in his bag wanting to, go back to the Colts. And the Bears are on their second road game in a row, which does affect you. You go on a road trip, you get back, next thing you know, you're traveling again. I know Indy's like a cab ride away. They're calling Ubers. The Bears are calling Ubers to Indianapolis this week. They're taking the bus down there. It's close, but that does affect them too. When you're taking 2 road trips in a row, it feels like it always felt like the week was extra short because you just get back and next thing you know, you're traveling again. But I really like where this defense is at. And if they keep going, man, I think they're going to put, the offense in situations where once they do start putting up a decent amount of points, they'll still be in the conversation.
He's 9-year NFL vet, Clay Harbor. I'm Gabe Ramirez, along with Marshall Harris. This is Believe in Bears. Thanks for streaming us everywhere. Clay, you bring up some great points, especially because, Colts are also 0-2, right? Those teams got a little bit of fire underneath them. Don't want to go 0-3 in those situations. If you guys want to hit us up on social media, at mharrisonair, at Clay Harbs, Clay Harbs
82.
Harbs 82, and I am Chicago_Gabe. Hit us up wherever. We're gonna skip past at us then, fellas. We'll let those build up in the pen so we can get to that next week. We're gonna do our final 5 right now, and I wanted to talk specifically about the matchups this weekend for the Colts. Right, I know that there's gonna be some good ones. I wanted to see if you guys had any that you felt were particularly important to this game and things that are gonna stand out. Clay, I'll start with you.
I want to see what this O-line can do against this Colts defensive line. This is going to be the weakest defensive line group that you're going to see all year. The Colts got a couple dogs. DeForest Buckner, out. Latu, loved him coming out, out. Okay, even cornerback Juju Brents, it's not my matchup, but out. So the Bears are going to have an opportunity here to enforce your will. These aren't any studs up front. You're going to be able to fire off. These guys aren't going to be the guys that can move out the way, fake you. You're going to be able to be physical. I want some downhill runs, not just zones. Let's do some gap scheme. Let's do some power when you're pulling the guard to kick someone out. You're downhill. Maybe you put your power backs in instead of your shifty backs, a little Herbert, a little Roshan Johnson, and you try to be physical. When you watch that game, the Packers, the Colts, you see Josh Jacobs getting off there, but what you also see is there's a lot of counters. There's some gap scheme. There's some zone scheme. Matt LaFleur was in his bag, switching up the carries there, and he would have a speed sweep to Dontavian Wicks, a speed sweep to Jaden Reed. But you got to pound the rock, and you can't be behind on first downs, second downs, third downs. Second and third down. You got to stay ahead of the chains, but I really like this matchup. Kwity Paye is a veteran. They do got a couple guys up front, but if you can't run the ball, after you saw what Green Bay was able to do with Malik Willis, who had been in Green Bay for 2 weeks, guy hasn't got a house yet. The guy's renting a hotel room. That's what guy even got his real residence yet. He's in a hotel. He's taking Uber to work. His car ain't even out there yet. Okay, a guy like that really is going to beat the Colts, and you can't. That would say a lot. So you got to move the ball, offensive line, pound it. Let's go.
So I'm looking at the matchups, Gabe, and the thing that keys in, you wonder who could change this game and make the Bears, who are technically underdogs in this game, in real trouble. And that, to me, is the matchup between Anthony Richardson's legs and the linebacking core, specifically Tremaine Edmonds in the middle, and, of course, TJ Edwards. And as Clay mentioned, it's not like Jack Sanborn is going to be on the field a bunch because the base isn't really the base anymore when you talk about the passing game that has become prevalent in the NFL. But Anthony Richardson is a guy who has already shown us this season that those legs work just fine. He's got 10 carries for 93 yards. In the last game, he had 6 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. And he is dynamic when he puts the ball down and decides to take off running. So if you aren't aware of where he is at all times on every play, whether that's a passing play, whether it's RPO, whether that's a running play, you might be in trouble. And he can bust it out big, both with his arm and his legs. And they've got to keep that contained and under control. I think that's one of the biggest keys for the Bears defense to stay in kind of that elite place where they've been the last 2 weeks.
It's a great point. Great point all around. I'm going to go with the outside guys, and I'm going to look at the wide receiver cornerback matchup. Michael Pittman Jr. and Jalen Johnson. I think he's going to be following him around a lot. Michael Pittman hasn't had a ton of success this year so far. Alec Pierce, obviously, with his speed, has been able to get over the top, and that pairs well with Anthony Richardson. That's why they've been able to connect over the first 2 games. But Anthony Richardson has a lot of pressure on him right now. I was talking to James Boyd yesterday on the score, and he covers the Colts for The Athletic, and he was talking about the amount of pressure that's on Anthony because they are 0-2, and the inability to put points on the board last week and win against the Green Bay Packers, who were with, like you guys mentioned, Malik Willis. I think there's a lot of pressure on Jonathan Taylor as well. They abandoned him in the fourth quarter because he's as they've all admitted, is terrible at pass protection. So you can neutralize a threat like Jonathan Taylor if you can stop the run and then force Anthony Richardson to get back there and throw the ball. And I think the Bears have the secondary to make him pay. That's why, Clay, you mentioned everybody on defense except for Kevin Byard, who's been playing well. And I think we'll come up with a pick this week because I think they are going to be forced to pass the ball. And Jalen Johnson is going to do his job, like we mentioned earlier in the pod, shutting down Michael Pittman Jr. And then they're going to have to go over the top. And I see Kevin Byard being the guy that's going to be impactful in that situation. But I think all 3 of us got the Bears winning, right? If we're going to actual predictions.
Let's talk about
scores. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna say Bears 30 to 20. They're gonna try to go for 2. So it's gonna go 30 to 20. I'm gonna say it.
That could be 3 touchdowns and 3 field goals too.
There you go. 30 to 20. What you got, Marshall?
I'm gonna say the Bears win this one 24 to 13. That's what I have. I think this is the week where there's not as many possessions because I think there's going to be some long, sustained, clock-killing Corey Dillon type drives. And that's going to be what the Bears need to do. They know the plan, and they're going to stick with the plan. And then an explosive play or 2 from Caleb Williams. He finally kind of gets loose. He said he was in rhythm better in game 2 versus game 1, which is hard to believe on its face because he was running around for his life, but he did look more comfortable when he was throwing the ball in terms of let's get rid of the ball quickly. He's getting rid of the ball at such a great rate, partly because he has to, but also because this is who he is as a quarterback.
Yeah, some of the stuff is fixable, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention that watching the film, it looked worse on the TV copy than it did on the All-22. So looking back, I'm like, okay, some of the stuff is fixable, man. You pick up some of these blitzes. You give them a second here. Some of these receivers just get open. You get Keenan back. DJ wins in some of these one-on-one routes. Some of the stuff is fixable. Defense is still balling out, so you can fix it. But I'm going 16-13, the Bears winning a barn burner, coming down to the wire, defensive battle.
Burner. 1 tutty, 3 field goals.
Yeah, bro. I mean, hey, they haven't shown me anything different right now. I'd be happy with that. So, yeah, 16-13.
Bears. As long as we get the dubs and they keep piling up. I was just telling people, it's like everyone thought the Bears would be 1-1 after 2 games, right? And it's like, but a lot of people were panicking.
So, like Clay said, it's the how you do it. What do you look like doing it?
Right, exactly. And it's looked pretty ugly, but it's like, how was it supposed to look against the Texans? 37-30 and a barn burner with Caleb putting up 40 or 400 yards. I guess that would have been sexier. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Of course, you're listening to Believe in Bears. Make sure you stream us everywhere you get your podcast. We want you guys to stay in tune with us the entire season. We're pumping out 2 episodes a week, unless we're not. So make sure you guys are following the podcast so we can stay in tune with you guys. All right. He is Marshall Harris, 9-year NFL vet Clay Harbor. I am Gabe Ramirez. We are the Blitz. We'll see you guys next time, man. Have a great week.